Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. It is your boy, CIZZY, you dig? And we are back again with another episode of the Culture Talks podcast. Today's a little bit different, where we're doing a solo episode. Typically, you guys are used to me bringing a guest on, and I know every week, I promise you I'm going to bring back a fire guest, but guess what? The guest today is a fire guest, and that guest is me. You feel me? Does that make sense? Well, either way, I'm here. I'm what you get. And as you can see, if you're watching this on video, I am in my basement and I am rocking an original worn down the Culture Talks tee paint on it because, hashtag hardworking man and all that, right? Either way, man, I appreciate you guys tuning in for this episode today. I believe this is season 8, episode 10. So the last episode of season 8, if I'm correct. And if you've been there with me since season 1, episode 1, and you're still here in season 8, episode 10, I need you to comment or leave a review or leave a comment in the review section on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment and let me know you've been here from the beginning. And I just might have a special gift for you. But you have to tell me a distinct fact or a distinct memory about the first episode of the podcast. All right? Boom. That being said, we're going to go ahead and move on. Today, we're going to be talking about a few things. I know I just mentioned the Culture Talks tees from the Voices of Value brand that we started as an offshoot from the Culture Talks podcast. So we're going to be talking a little bit about building the t-shirt brand. We're going to talk a little bit about, Black culture and Black business news. We're going to talk a little bit about, a few different things. So if you guys are interested in any of the things that I just said, or you're just interested in me, which who wouldn't be? I'm playing, kind of. Then continue listening. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. If you are, like I mentioned, a fan of Black business, a fan of Black culture, and you've been on Twitter or Instagram at all lately, then you know that Rihanna has just become officially a billionaire. That puts her as the second Black woman and the second richest Black woman behind Oprah. And I think she's only like 33 or something. I don't know. That's why you need like a research guy on deck, so he can just go look that up. But instead, I'm going to look it up. So let's see. How old is Rihanna? Yep, I was right. I was right on. So Rihanna is 33 years old, and she is the second richest Black woman in the world, or let me say in America, because I'm not guaranteed about the world. But she did just become a billionaire. And for those of you who don't know how she became a billionaire, let's talk a little bit about her brands, her companies, right? So she started Fenty Beauty in 2017, and she, I think either just before that or just after that, also has Savage X Fenty, Savage and times Fenty, right? So Savage and Fenty, right? So Fenty Beauty is her makeup line, a lot of MUA products, makeup artist products, or just makeup in general for consumers. A lot of beauty products in general overall. And then for Savage Fenty, that is more of a lingerie company, along with other different types of wear that are sleek, fashionable, sexy, you dig. And she started both of those companies less than 10 years ago, and both of them have reached billionaire status, right? So Fenty Beauty is at 2.8 billion as of recently, and Savage Fenty is at 1 billion. And Rihanna, aside from the millions of dollars she's made off of her top shelf music, has also 50% ownership in Fenty and 30% ownership in Savage Fenty. So, do the math: 2.8 billion, 50% ownership, 1 billion, 30% ownership. And obviously that puts you at a billionaire status, right? And so recently, she sold half the business of Fenty to LVMH, which is one of the top luxury groups. They own the likes of Timberland, the likes of, Jay-Z just sold the alcohol company. What's the alcohol company? Billionaire or something. Either way, just sold to them. A lot of luxury goods or, products that are seen as luxury, especially in hip hop culture, are owned by LVMH, and Fenty also is owned 50% by LVMH, while 50% of ownership stays in Rihanna's hands. So, like I said, puts her as the wealthiest female musician in the world and the second wealthiest female entertainer in the world behind Oprah Winfrey. that 50-50 joint venture with the luxury company LVMH was a great deal. On top of her personal brand, that's also what I wanted to talk about though, in regards to these two businesses, is personal brand. Not many companies get to billionaire status in less than 10 years. Especially, brands like, we should look up how long it took Victoria's Secret to become a $1 billion brand, or how long it took some of these other lingerie companies to become $1 billion brands. Let's look up how long it took Sephora to become a $2 billion brand or a $1 billion brand. Let's look up how long it took who else? Ladies that are listening right now, of some big makeup companies. Go Google how long it took them to become billionaire status. And it only took Rihanna 4 years to hit billionaire status with Fenty Beauty. So when we think about how the hell is that possible, not only are the products, potentially, good. I don't know. I don't use the products, but we have to think about personal brand, and we have to think about awareness. When someone like Rihanna, of Rihanna's, status in music, her status in fashion, her pop culture status, what people know her for, how she brands herself. When we think about Rihanna, we all get a little excited, whether it's guys or girls. Girls admire her, think she's super beautiful, super popping, love her music, love her body. Guys, pretty much the same thing, man. They might try to pretend like they don't like the music, but they do. And then on top of that, Rihanna has always, except for a few times, been a bright light in the media. There's not too many bad things that happen. She always represents herself well. She's always been a hustler. She's always been a great artist. And when you're able to maintain that for so long, and when you've been in the music game for so long, and you've been such a big part of the music and pop culture and hip hop culture, Black culture, in general, you're definitely going to hold a lot of weight. And so when you start a brand after you've already built a personal brand, when you start a company, when you start selling a product, when you start selling a service, there's going to be a lot more attention than there's going to be if you're just some random guy that's trying to start a startup, or some random girl that's trying to build out a makeup company. You might become billionaire status, but it might take you 10 to 12 years. Whereas when someone like Rihanna already establishes a brand, a personal brand, then comes out with a product or a service, you see the positive effects, financially, and on that, and how fast a business can grow. This is why I always talk about the importance of social media, content, and what you post, and providing value, and building up your personal brand first before you launch a product or before you launch a service. Because if people know you, if people are aware of you, if people trust you, they're going to buy from you. And people know Rihanna. People were aware of Rihanna for years, since they were children, and they trust Rihanna. So when she puts out a product around beauty, or around, lingerie or fashion, people are going to buy, because they think that she's awesome. They think she's beautiful. They think she knows beauty. They think she knows fashion, and they've known her for that for years. So why would you not trust somebody who has that kind of reputation, right? Why would you not buy? And so I'm not surprised that she's hit billionaire status. I'm happy for her. And I thought it was something we needed to mention. Starting Fenty in 4 years ago and being a $2.8 billion brand today shows the power of personal brand. And you guys should definitely, pay more attention to that in your own lives if you're trying to start a business, or if you're an entrepreneur in some way or some fashion, right? So we're going to move on to our next topic. And our next topic is something I've been doing on Twitter lately. So what I've been doing on Twitter lately is I've been trying to write more threads. And one of the topics I've been writing more threads about is about millionaires in Kansas City, and about millionaire businesses or successful businesses that have came out of Kansas City. The reason that I'm doing this is, when I was growing up here in the Kansas City area, I never thought anything positive of the area. I didn't think anybody wealthy lived here. I didn't think anybody with successful businesses lived here. I didn't think any successful artists came out of here. I didn't think any successful designers, fashion people, entrepreneurs, athletes. I didn't think anybody successful came out of here for real. And when someone did make it out, it seemed like a miracle, right? So the past year, I've been running into a lot of people through these interviews and through research, and just trying to delve, and engross myself into the Kansas City area. There's so many people who are successful, really successful. I'm talking about really successful. And I think it's important for people from Kansas City, especially young people coming up, to know and understand that you can be from Kansas City, you can be from the flyover states, you can be from the middle of America, and you can still create $1 million business. You can still be a successful artist. You can still be a successful businessman. You can still be a successful fashion designer. But the only way I think we can do that is if we highlight the people who've done it before and make it popular and make it front page, make it, something that we see often. So I started creating threads called Millionaires of Kansas City. And we've talked about Hellsberg Diamonds, we've talked about H&R Block, and there's just so many families and there's so many successful people. And so today I thought I would drop in and talk to you guys about H&R Block. So if there's any Twitter people, that love reading threads, just go to my Twitter, at Collis Stutzer on Twitter, and you can read up on those threads. And if you don't care about threads and you didn't know that there were a lot of millionaires from Kansas City, I'm going to share a story about Hellsberg Diamonds instead of H&R Block because I like diamonds. But I'm just going to read the thread straight through that I wrote up, and we'll stop to talk about certain things, or maybe we won't. But I wanted to come in and I wanted to bring this content to my podcast listeners as well. So with that being said, we're going to jump in. This is the story about Hellsberg Diamonds and how they became such a huge company. So if you've lived in or spent enough time in Kansas City area, you know that Hellsberg Diamonds is one of the most recognized jewelry stores in the 816 to the 913. Am I right or am I right? Morris Hellsberg, who is the creator of Hellsberg Diamonds, was born originally in Russia, but then immigrated to the States with his parents, landing him in Kansas City, Missouri. He had a pretty big family. When he grew older, he had about 5 children and was married to a lady named Lena. In 1915, he decided to open his first jewelry store establishment and called it Hellsberg Diamonds. So this is the birth of Hellsberg Diamonds. 1915, Kansas City, Missouri, family business, German immigrant, okay? So when he was trying to build this company, he made it into a family business. All 5 children helped run the store for the first few years. It was a true family business. So all changes, all issues, all ideas were discussed in the family and consulted about before anything was officially decided. And although Morris was the, early founder of the Hellsberg Diamond store, he didn't get much time to build that business, though, because unfortunately, he soon fell sick and passed away at the age of 54 on January 30th, 1922, only 7 years after opening Hellsberg Diamonds. He ended up leaving the business to his youngest son, Barnett Hellsberg Sr., who is pretty much who built the business from then on out, from 1922 going on. Barnett was the youngest, but he didn't lack any ambition, as the youngest of the families typically don't. You diggeroni, that's me, baby. He shined in his work, and a few years after the opening of Hellsberg, he started his own venture in a larger space called the Shaw Diamond Shop. So he did end up, for a little bit, breaking off from Hellsberg Diamonds and leaving Hellsberg Diamonds in the store to his uncle, while he went and started his own diamond shop called Shaw Diamond Shop. As mentioned, Barnett was very ambitious and he relished in his work. In less than a year, his monthly revenue at this new store called Shaw Diamond Shop, his monthly revenue at his new store was doing the same exact numbers as the original Hellsberg store, which had been in business for 7 years. So in 1 year, he's done what the whole family's done with Hellsberg Diamonds in 7 years. So ambitious, good business owner. But the uncle took notice. The uncle who's running Hellsberg Diamonds takes notice, and he decides to shut down the original store and join the youngest son, Barnett, at Shaw Diamond Shop. And they ended up rebranding that shop from Shaw to Hellsberg Diamonds again. And during the 1920s, the family, and the brothers expanded the store to other markets in the Midwest, utilizing ad campaigns in the magazine and allowing people to buy on credit. They were one of the first companies to, start allowing people to buy on credit. So that was super popular early on, along with running ads in the Kansas City Star and other local magazines. Despite the 1930s and the Great Depression, Barnett's ambitious attitude helped to continue the expansion of Helzberg Diamonds, and they only lost money during 1 year in the 1930s. Okay, so let's think about how amazing that is. The 1930s is the Great Depression. Everyone's suffering. There's war. There's people coming back from the war. The company's economy is struggling and suffering extremely bad. Some of the worst we've ever seen. And yet, Barnett and the family are still able to expand the Helzberg Diamond Store and only lose money during 1 year out of 10. By the dawn of the 1940s, the company was considered the largest jewelry store in the Midwest. The largest jewelry store in the Midwest. In 1948, which is 1 year after my dad was born, in Kansas City, by the way, so he was 1 year old when this was happening. In 1948, Barnett decided to open a large 3-story store on the Country Club Plaza, which is still here today. So all Kansas City listeners know what that is, know where it is, and know how it gets down there, right? So 3-story store on the plaza, and also relocated the Wichita location to a larger, more grandiose location in an attempt to target the elite of the Midwest. Okay, so Barnett decides in the late 40s to build some luxury stores, make the Helzberg Diamond Store a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more popping, a little bit more grandiose, because he was trying to attract, the elite of the Midwest. And this effort, kind of brought a lot of strain to other stores across the flyover states, because a lot of money was going into these grandiose stores in Kansas City and in Wichita, and it was taking money and putting a little bit of pain on other stores across the Midwest. So they ended up having to close down a few stores. But in the 1950s, Barnett finished business school, and by the early 1960s, he ended up becoming the president of Helzberg Diamonds. At that time, they were sitting at 39 stores in almost all downtown locations across a multitude of states, and still growing at a pretty steady rate. You may think that those downtown districts were prime retail, right? Prime retail real estate, because it's downtown, it's in a popular area where a lot of stuff is happening, where a lot of people are going. But actually, at the time in the 1950s, 60s, the rise of suburban shopping malls was pulling traffic away from a lot of those downtown business districts and was actually hurting Helzberg's business. So Barnett decided to shut down a handful of those stores, and in shrinking the business to only 15 stores across the Midwest, he ended up moving those stores or keeping the stores that were located in the suburban shopping centers. Barnett had a plan, though. Although he had to downsize, as usual, he was ambitious and he had a knack for ads. And as we know, in the 30s and 40s, that's how they built their business. So he doubles back to ads. And in 1969, Barnett launched the I Am Loved campaign and gave away over 18 million pins with that slogan that spread like wildfire across the country. The campaign helped spread brand awareness as they moved into expansion in the 1970s, their goal being 3 stores a year. By the 1980s, they'd nearly double in size and begin catching up to other large jewelry businesses doing well across the country. So let's pause there for a second. This company is started in the 1920s. It's over 50 plus years later. The youngest son is still running the business. And this business started right here in Kansas City. It started with one small store. Now they've nearly doubled, tripled from the 1920s and 30s in size, and have began to catch up to other large jewelry businesses doing well across the country. By the mid-1990s, there were talks of taking the company public. And a few months after the talks, about the IPO, they were sold to Berkshire Hathaway. And if you don't know about Berkshire Hathaway, look up Berkshire Hathaway. They own a lot. Shout out Warren Buffett. Also a Midwest company, originally starting in Omaha. In summary, big business takes a long time to build, but it can be done. And it can be done from right here in Kansas City. We have many more great business stories out of Kansas City that I'll probably cover over the next few weeks via Twitter and on the podcast. But don't forget that no matter where you are, it's all about effort. It's all about being ambitious. It's all about having a great idea. It's all about solving a problem. And if you can do those things and you can commit to working hard every single day, no matter where you're from, eventually, you're going to be successful. So just know that. Don't let the town that you're from, don't let the state that you're from, discourage you and push you off the path that you were trying to go down, right? So um that's that about Kansas City and some successful businesses. We'll continue to talk about that in future podcasts. And if you follow me on Twitter at College Stetzer, you'll see a few more threads about that over the next few weeks. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely tune in and subscribe to the podcast if you want to hear it, via voice, or subscribe or follow me on Twitter if you want to just read the threads. So we're going to transition to the t-shirt business. So ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, I do have a t-shirt business called Voices of Value. The slogan is derived from the podcast. And why is the slogan The Culture Talks? Well, that's because while I was recording the podcast, I was thinking there has to be something that I can put out there into the world that people can touch, that is tangible, that connects them to the idea of, the Culture Talks and the vision and the mission behind the Culture Talks. So both the t-shirt company Voices of Value and the podcast, The Culture Talks, or the media company, the Culture Talks Media, both share similar missions, and that's to uplift the voices of the unheard. As I was growing up as, a minority creative, as a minority individual coming from a mixed family, I only really thought I could do the things that I saw people who looked like me do on TV. And all they really showed were athletes and entertainers. And I couldn't identify something that I was talented at when it comes to entertainment. I didn't think I was a good actor, and I was never an artist. And when it comes to sports, once you hit a certain age, you kind of realize, I'm not going to go pro. And for a lot of young, African Americans, for a lot of young minority individuals in general, Mexicans, African Americans, Dominicans who are Black as well, all people who come from communities where there's a lack of representation, especially in the Western world, feel similar ways. They only think they can do what they saw people who look like them do, and they don't think anything outside of that is actually possible. So the idea behind Voices of Value is to let you know that, no matter where you're from, and no matter your circumstances, and no matter if you've never seen somebody like you do the things that you might want to do, understand that your voice is valuable, that you have the capacity to do what you want to do, and you should go out there and do it, And that's really the mission, the idea behind both the t-shirt brand and the podcast. And so, after a while doing the podcast, I was like, let me launch this t-shirt brand and let me call it Voices of Value. So it has some slight separation from the Culture Talks. And let me use the Culture Talks saying as the front and center, phrase that people see on these t-shirts. Now, the t-shirt business is a very interesting business. I would definitely say that it is, oversaturated. But I'm not one to shy away from a business venture or a business idea just because it's oversaturated, because I've always been told by my mentors growing up that even if an area is oversaturated, if you really like it, pursue it. And if you're really good at it, you're truly talented at it, and you actually have a good product, then you're going to be successful regardless of if it's quote unquote oversaturated or not. We have to remember there's 7 billion people on Earth, millions and millions of people in our cities and in our states. And people are allowed to like more than one thing. So just because your other local t-shirt company in your area, or another company, an ice cream company, or a laundromat, just because one is popular doesn't mean that other people won't like yours if you have a better story. Or it's not so much about being better, but if you have a story that connects with them. And we hope that our mission connects with a lot of people's stories. And and we are trying to build off of that. Somebody asked me, what's a mistake you wish you made a little bit earlier? And that mistake is, not having the brand super down packed and written down, the mission statement written down, understanding exactly the vision and goal. Because when you come out and you start trying to sell a product without a story, and not being super sold on the mission that you're telling people can tell. And when people can tell, they're going to shy away from your business because they think you're being inauthentic. Even though you're trying to be authentic, they think you're being inauthentic because they can tell that you are not even sure that you're not even confident in your product. You're not even confident in the story you're trying to tell. So luckily enough, we've been able to nail that down and really understand our mission statement and really understand our goal with the company and really understand our target audience, right? And sometimes you'll have a target audience and people outside of that audience will also buy and connect with it in a certain way. Or they might buy because they just rock with you and rock with the way you look, to be honest. So you always want to have a target audience, a niche audience that you're trying to talk to, and you want to understand the story and the reason behind your product and why you're selling it and the change that you're trying to create. And when you're able to do that, you're going to draw much more attention. You're going to have a lot more people willing to buy. And another mistake that, I made, with this t-shirt company, and honestly, I'm still trying to work on, is ordering samples, man. You always want to order samples. You always want to sample the manufacturer. You want to sample the t-shirt product. You want to sample the designer. You want to sample, you know, screen printing. You want to have somebody do a digital transfer, a digital print. You want to have somebody do a screen printing. You want to have somebody stitch it. You want to use this t-shirt product. You want to use this t-shirt product. You want to sample and you want to test your product out, and you want to let other people test it out in the early stages so that you can come out confident in the product you're putting out there and, really enjoying it. And I think that's another mistake that I wish I, you know, you know, didn't make and would have made, like, just wish I didn't make, but it was a mistake that I made that I learned from. And now I know that before, we put a product out there, that we need to sample it. We need to see what the design looks like. We need to know what it feels like. We need to know how long it takes for it to ship. And yeah, so I'm going to read off a few questions that people have asked over the past few days and just kind of talk about it. Another question somebody asked was, by the way, this is all about the t-shirt business. So how do you drive new growth while still providing value to your past and current customers? How do you drive new growth while still providing value to your past and current customers? This is interesting. I think our business model, which is really just like a what I call a drop model. So we don't keep any of our t-shirts in stock longer than a month. We might come back with, another product if people really like it and bring some of the originals back. But we are a drop-based company. So we just do drops. And every time we do a drop, we try to have some different design, some different phrase, a different type of cut of a t-shirt, whatever it might be. We try to come with a new product every month. And I think there's benefits in that because you're constantly innovating. And some customers are going to appreciate innovation. They're going to love to get different styles, and they're going to love to be a part of the journey and a part of the, story of how the brand grew from day one to the end. And they're going to buy every product from the very first product to the very last product you buy. And they're going to be proud of that. And I think that's one way we can provide value to our current customers is, really helping them become a part of the family and letting them be a part of the journey. Every time they get a new product, they were there with us. They saw where we were at. They saw how many customers we had. They saw how many followers we had. They saw, the original, quality of the t-shirt. They saw the original design, and they get to grow with us while we're able to provide value for our new and current, for our new customers, by, again, always having something new that comes out there and, building a level of hype around, what's going to come out. So when they're new and they just become aware of us and they're like, oh, I see all these designs, of the design changes all the time. Interesting. Like, and then they see a post like new design coming soon, or they see, sign up to become sign up for the email list so you can become the first to know about the next product design. Then it kind of draws, more attention and builds hype around what is that next product going to be. I want to join in now so I don't miss out on the next product, and I want to be there with them from here on out. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's really how we drive new growth while still providing value for our current customers. I think there's benefits to both. And the cool thing is, there's going to be a lot of customers that are going to want an old product back. And when that demand is high enough, then we can bring it back and we can satisfy that need. So it's also fun, it's just fun to see what people really like, what people are drawn to. And you never know, maybe in the future we'll just open the store to all of our old designs and just have it a full store available to everybody, all of our old designs and our new designs, and continue to innovate. But as of right now, we're still going to continue down that drop model. So join us while you can. Get in a part of the family. Be here early on. We've only been in business for just about a year. So if you're listening to this and you didn't know about Voices of Value, go follow VOV Apparel on Instagram, or go to vovapparel.com and tap in. The next question is, how do you approach your branding to set yourself apart from other mainstream apparel brands? This is an interesting question. I don't think we really set out to be so different than these other brands. We just want to be us and be authentic to our story, and be authentic to, our experiences, and, have a positive impact on our community. Now, if that's in alignment with another brand, or it's very similar to another brand, then cool, it is what it is. Maybe we can join up, partner up, and really have a larger impact. Our goal is just to truly, uplift the voices of the unheard, empower the people who feel like they aren't seen, and make them feel seen. And we hope that the product, when they rock our t-shirts, make them feel, good, make them feel like they want to speak up in situations where they would normally be quiet, make them want to be, a hustler and chase their dreams, make them understand that their community and people that look like them are powerful, and, do have a say in what happens in this country, or what happens in their community. And if we can make somebody feel like that, then we're doing our job, and we don't really care, if we're so different than another company. You feel me? So, yeah, man. I do want to say, though, for people that are trying to start a t-shirt business, I I would definitely encourage you, if you're in it purely just for, this the drip and making money, um is definitely a difficult business, man. It's crowded as hell. You have to have a story. And if you want your success rate to increase, I would definitely encourage you building your own personal brand. um Up to, this is my suggestion, I'm not saying this is the right way or the wrong way, but building your personal brand up to 10 to 15K before you start, another brand outside of, like, just building your personal brand in general. Because when you have such a large community, like we talked about with Rihanna, when you have people who see you and are aware, it makes it a lot easier to direct that traffic elsewhere, especially if there's a good story behind that business, and they know you and they trust you and they rock with you. So that's one suggestion I'd have for, anybody who wants to become a t-shirt entrepreneur, is, understanding your mission. What's the purpose of you putting this product out? Is just another piece of t-shirt out in the market, or is there a story behind it? Know that, become comfortable with it, and have the story down, and truly believe in that story. Number two, build a personal brand, build up a following, and then direct that following, or try to, help that following trickle into your new business. And number three is, sample your products, sample everything before you actually put it out on the market. So, hit up your friends, ask people questions. What manufacturer do you go to? What screen printer do you go to? Do you like screen printing? Do you like digital printing? What website do you use? Do you create all the shirts at your house? Do you have a screen printer? Do you have a heat press, or do you go through Printful or Printify, or some of these other companies who, you give them the design, you place it on the shirt, and then they connect you with the manufacturer and they ship it for you, right, for a cost. So, build out your business model, and have a story that you truly believe in, and have a strong personal brand. And I think you have a pretty good chance of being successful. I will say that graphic design shirts are a great direction to go if you're just getting into it for money, or if, and even if you're not just getting into it for money, if you have some type of graphic design that can go with the storyline that you're trying to tell, or with the story you're trying to, sell to your customers, then That's a great route to go. The graphic design shirt segment, hold about, I think the last time I read, the largest market share in the t-shirt, industry. I think about like 50, 56, 57% in 2020. I was reading about it the other day, and that shit is crazy. So they definitely hold the largest market share, graphic design t-shirts. And if you come out with one with a good story, there's, it's a high likelihood somebody's going to be interested. And I mentioned, there in that little rant about screen printing and digital printing. Screen printing is also a segment that is doing really well in the t-shirt business because of the quality. It really, screen printing has the ability to really make things show a little bit better on darker t-shirts. Designs look a little bit better. They last a little bit longer. They're deeper into the t-shirt. And like I said, that segment, screen printing versus digital printing, I think screen printing holds like revenue share of like 45% or 50% of the market in the custom t-shirt market. So, and I think that was 2019 or 2020. So just understand that graphic design, screen printing, these are really popular in the t-shirt business. So that's a great place to kind of start or become educated in. But don't forget about digital printing. Do not forget about digital printing. It's also an option. It's not bad. And it's definitely the fastest growing segment in regards to how you get the design onto the t-shirt and the t-shirt business. Growing fast and will continue to grow over the next 7 years. So don't discount it. That's enough about t-shirts, though. That is enough about t-shirts because I'm tired of talking about t-shirts. I'm tired of wearing t-shirts. So I'm pretty much like ready to get off this podcast so I can take this t-shirt off. You feel me? But I hope you guys are enjoying this solo episode. I know I talk a lot and I talk really fast, but I thought it was important to talk a little bit about Black business and Black news with Rihanna, talk a little bit about the potential to be successful in any place, wherever you're at, and talk about successful businesses from Kansas City, talk a little bit about my experience with t-shirt business and the struggles of growing that. And, I plan to share more about the growth of that story and kind of share the growth of that company in public with you guys. So we'll definitely talk about that more on other solo podcasts for sure. I did want to talk about men dressing nice. Now, I want y'all opinion on the importance of how important. So men, I want you guys to comment below if you're watching this on YouTube, or comment on Apple reviews or Spotify reviews, and let me know how important is fashion to you. Growing up, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't really care about fashion, especially when I got into like my teens and 20s. I really didn't care about fashion. I'm like sweatpants, shorts, ain't about to waste my money on no clothes. But like lately, I kind of understand, fashion. You know what they say: you look good, you feel good. You smell good, you feel good. If you look good and you feel good, you play good, right? And play good can be, sport. It can be, being a player, you dig. I'm just playing, don't do that. But it can be at your business, at your job, just being confident in how you move. I kind of understand why, fashion is important to some people, because it really can be an art for those who are super artistic. And then for others, it can just make you feel confident. So, and women have always been known for like caring about fashion and beauty. But man, I want you guys to leave your comments on how important is fashion and why is fashion important to you. With that being said, we're gonna finalize this podcast with a breakdown of a quote of the day. The quote of the day is from Tony Robbins. It is, quote, "It is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped," end quote. Again, it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. Tony Robbins. So I kind of talk about this idea every day on my Instagram videos, where I'm like, today is another opportunity to be great, another opportunity to be grateful for your ability to breathe, see, talk, smell, another opportunity for you to change your life and change the lives of those around you. And the reason why I say that so much in all of my videos is really, kind of just like what this quote is saying, it's in your moments of decision. If it's that video that you're watching of mine, or that moment where a motivational video is on, and you decide at that moment that you're going to change your life, if you decide at that moment that you're going to commit to a process, if you decide at that moment that you're going to take action towards your goals, towards your dreams, that is where your destiny is shaped. But if you never make decisions, if you're constantly, you know, being hindered by obstructions in the way, and you're enabling yourself to be unable to not make decisions, then you're never going to reach the heights that you could have reached if you just made the decision. So a reminder that it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. Remember that. Take action tomorrow, take action tonight, take action every day of your life from here on out. Make the decision to be great. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys tuning into the podcast, the solo episode with Kyle Stutzer. And if you enjoyed this, if you want more solo episodes, please let me know, because I can talk, and I will definitely come on here doing solo episodes every week if y'all like that. But think we'll be back with another guest, if not next week, the week after that. Trying to decide when I want to release this next one. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. And leave a comment, leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed this podcast. If you thought it was entertaining, interesting, or informational, please share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe, because that's the only way we can grow. Yeah, dig. The Culture Talks Podcast. This your boy, CIZZY, you dig? And I'm out. Salud.